Okay, so what's the first thing you do when you meet someone new and you want to know more about them? Well, obviously you find their social media accounts and you scroll ever so slightly, trying not to double tap anything. I mean, we all do it. You probably have done it to everyone from your small group leader to your teammates. Before social media though, there was no stealth way to see what people were actually like. You just had to actually hang out with them, actually get to know them, actually meet up with them, ask them questions, and interact with them face to face, person to person. I mean, imagine that. But now it's way easier. You can learn so much about someone. You can learn all of their favorite stuff, like what's their favorite place to hang out, or their favorite brands, or whether or not they're a cat person or a dog person, or I don't know, an iguana person. You can even find out their interest in maybe their hobbies. Things like, do they play basketball or volleyball or video games? Or maybe they collect anime series, or maybe they're a brand ambassador. You can even find out about their relationships. I mean, you want to know if that person is single, or you want to know if they're friends with that person, just look at your mutual followers, or better yet, check out the posts that they're tagged in. We have all done this at some point. And there is, however, one thing we don't put out there for everyone to see: the person that you like or want to date. I mean, imagine if I were to throw your most recent potential relationship on the screen and tell the whole room about it. That would not be okay. It would be so uncomfortable. And so we keep that mostly to ourselves. On the other hand, if you're in a relationship, this might be a little bit different. You probably don't mind people knowing that you're dating. In fact, I mean, some of us, we kind of pre-plan the picture that we're gonna post, and we pre-plan that perfect caption, and we can't wait for people to know. But really, if we look at it, those are just pictures. When it comes to what your actual relationship is like, you probably don't put it all out there on blast. The truth is, whether you're on the outside of a relationship creeping on a crush, or you're on the inside of a relationship curating what you post, isn't it true that we can be tempted to be a little bit secretive when it comes to our relationships? Why is that? Well, maybe because it's not always comfortable to let people in on our relationships. Maybe it's the embarrassing nicknames or the weird voices you use when you talk to each other. Or maybe you aren't sure how long it's gonna last. Maybe you don't want to be that couple that seems super obsessed with each other. Or maybe you haven't put a label on it yet and you don't know what you would say if someone were to ask. You just wanna give it time because you know that it has potential. Or maybe we aren't looking for everyone's input. I mean, think about it. When a relationship was new, you couldn't stop talking about it with everyone. But once the butterflies died down, we kind of slowed down on sharing all the life updates. You convinced yourself that you made it out of the honeymoon phase, and so, this relationship has potential to make it through the long haul. Or maybe another reason we're tempted to keep everyone out is because we're afraid that the people closest to us might disapprove of the relationship. Maybe your friends like your crush, and from a distance, they're cool with all their quirky beige flags. But if they knew what they were really like up close, they honestly would start pointing out all these red flags. But you're convinced that they just can't see your crush's potential. Or maybe we keep adults out because we're afraid that our parent or caretaker or family might disapprove. Maybe you feel like you could literally date the most perfect person and they still wouldn't be okay with it. Or maybe you straight up just aren't allowed to date, so you don't put a title on it, but you know and they know what you are anyway. Maybe it's just easier to keep it to yourself because your parents maybe just can't see and they just don't get it yet, but give it time. You guys have potential. Regardless of why, there are lots of reasons why letting people into our relationships might be uncomfortable. We've been in this series Potential for several weeks. We're talking about dating because we all know what it's like to look at someone and wonder if whether or not you and them might have some sort of potential future together. But what if you could base your dating success off of something way better than this vague idea of potential? What if today we discovered something that has the potential to change how you approach dating forever? We're gonna take a look at a passage in a book of the Bible called Proverbs. It's a book filled with wise sayings, insights, and principles to help us make better choices in life. Several of the short verses in Proverbs are written in cause and effect phrases. It's like, if you do this cause, then this will happen, effect. The primary author is a guy named Solomon, who was an ancient king who led Israel. And interestingly enough, he was the son of David and Bathsheba, who we talked about last week. Scripture calls Solomon the wisest man to ever live, which is a pretty high compliment. So if you're looking for some guidance that you can apply to your dating life, you can probably find that here. Solomon says this: "For lack of guidance, a nation falls, but victory is won through many advisors." Solomon is saying that if a nation or a people group doesn't have enough wise counsel, then it might fall apart. And the same is true when it comes to our life. If we only rely on ourselves for guidance and direction, at some point we're gonna fall. We all need other people. When we rely only on our own perspectives, we limit our ability to see clearly. We can only see so much, and sometimes we can't even zoom out enough to see the whole picture. Letting other people in helps us grow, because having multiple healthy perspectives challenges us to think differently. It can even help us see if a relationship has potential. When we rely on only our own reasoning and perspective and experience, we miss out on people who might make us better at life. That is what Solomon is getting at when he says victory is won through many advisors. In every area of life, we can make better decisions, get less tripped up, and become better people when we find wise people to walk alongside and when we learn from multiple perspectives. This is especially true when it comes to dating. If you find yourself avoiding guidance and wise counsel, you might want to pause and really ask yourself why that is. Think about it like this: without people who make you better, you can miss out on what's best. And I'm not saying that you aren't smart or capable of making good decisions. I know that it can be really frustrating when people treat you like that because of your age or experience. The truth is that we were created to be in community with one another. And God wants to use people not just to advise you, but to also shape you into who God has created you to be. You only know, what you've personally experienced and navigated in your own life. But when we walk alongside others who have more experience and even just different experiences, it can help us see the bigger picture and help us become the best version of ourselves. Okay, so it's kind of like this. When you learn to drive, you quickly discover what a blind spot is. It's like you're in the driver's seat and you've got this rear view mirror and you can see cars coming up, but there's this one gap that you don't see them in the mirror, but you also don't see them out the window on the side of you. That is called a blind spot. That's when a car is literally so close to you, but you can't really see it. Well, you see, here's the thing. When it comes to dating, an advisor helps you see blind spots. I mean, an advisor might help you see when you are falling into habits that you want to break, but that person that you're dating doesn't quite have the same standards, whether that's spending money or doom scrolling or sex or drugs or just living an unmotivated lifestyle. An advisor can help you see that blind spot. Or they can help you see if you have an unhealthy tendency to perform for that person's love and for their approval, which then causes you to act a little bit obsessed, which then leads you to all this fear and worry and control. An advisor can help point that out in your life. An advisor helps you point out if you are maybe dating an abusive or disrespectful person. An advisor can help point out if you are dating for status and clout instead of for the right reasons, like all these reasons that are actually just making you a little bit narcissistic and self-absorbed. An advisor can point out that blind spot. An advisor can help you point out if having that person in your life isn't making you any better at life at all. They're just kind of keeping you from reaching your potential. Your advisors may be able to tell whether or not you've developed some unhealthy tendencies. Your advisors can be able to help you tell that the person that you're dating is relying on you to help heal all of their emotional wounds, and that's not healthy. Your advisors may be able to spot that the person you're dating actually has zero respect for authority, and that's not cool. Or maybe they will help you notice how the person you're dating is creating a wedge and a divide between you and your friends. They may even tell you that you need to learn how to ask better questions and truly listen to the answers. This list could go on for days. There are people around you who have been through it, and therefore they can spot it. They've been through breakups, they've made mistakes, they've walked a similar path, and bringing them in on your dating life, even when it's not easy, even when it's not pretty, can be a really good thing. If we let people in, we might be surprised at how helpful they can be. So, how do you go about finding your advisors? Well, it's actually very easy. You just take out your phone, you post on social media that you are now accepting applications, and they will start rolling in. I mean, obviously not, right? When it comes to finding people who can challenge you to be better at life, here are a few things to help you out. 1, think of someone who will be objective. We all have those friends who co-sign every decision we make, right? The yes people, they literally will say yes no matter what. Well, I would advise you that they probably aren't the ones, but finding someone who lives in a way that you admire can be a good start. Maybe they have a relationship that seems strong, or they seem like they've been able to make a lot of good decisions along the way. Regardless, we need people who are going to be honest with us, even when it isn't easy. Maybe especially when it isn't easy. All right, the next thing you can do is find someone who has already been there. Lots of times, this might be someone older than you, and not just because they're older than you, but someone who seems to have some wisdom. And how do you get wisdom? Well, one way is that you go through several experiences, and that is why age might be a really helpful thing to consider. That is one of the best things about showing up to your faith community, because there are leaders and adults who care about you and want to help you become the best version of yourself that you can be. Okay, and then the last thing is this. Reach out. This is the most important step. If you don't ask, then it doesn't happen. I mean, sure, people might offer advice here or there, but actually inviting someone in and asking them to help you along the way will prompt them to be thinking and asking great questions about your specific situation. It might be intimidating, but I guarantee you that as soon as you ask the right person, you will be glad that you did. They don't have to be your closest confidant, just someone who you can trust, who you can talk to, and who you can hear honest, objective feedback on what you're experiencing in life from, and especially your dating life. Okay, and here's something to consider. When Solomon says many advisors, he doesn't mean anybody and everybody. You want the right person to speak into the right part of your life. It will take multiple voices, but that doesn't mean a multitude of voices. Many advisors doesn't mean just any advisors. Listen, even if you aren't dating right now or interested in it, chances are that you might someday. But even if dating and marriage aren't the goal, having people in your life can help in so many ways. You will never regret having advisors. Find people who make you better now so that you don't miss out on the best version of yourself down the road. Walking alone is never the best bet, but walking alone while trying to figure out the dating world could be worse. Who you date, who you let advise you, and the way you navigate those relationships will shape who you become in the long run. The quality of your relationships is one of the areas of life that have the power to impact every other area of your life, either for the better or for the worse. And while that might sound dramatic, I promise you that it's true. So don't let today pass without thinking about someone who could be a good person to walk with you. Don't wait. Make a promise to yourself that in the next 24 hours, you're going to reach out to them. Write their names down right now. Draft the text. Remember, without people who make you better, you can miss out on what's best.